Hey, Claire, Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you. Lauren, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hey, Susan.
Hi.
So, Marcy, if you tell Nicholas that we could.
Okay, I've unmuted him. You tell me when you want him to go.
I think we're good.
We should mute everybody first, or it's going to echo.
Ready?
Tekiah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yai da yai da yai da da yai da yai da yai yai da yai da 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 yai da yai yai da da yai 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 da yai da yai da yai yai da da yai da yai yai da yai da yai da
Friends, it's really good to be with all of you this Shabbat. Invite us just to take a breath together. Let a little bit more of Shabbat arrive. Invite you to take a moment to look around and see the community that is joined together this Shabbat. I imagine we'll grow a little bit, but it's really good to be with you right now. As always, invite you to use this platform in a way that helps us connect and deepen our sense of both community and prayerfulness. Please feel free to use the chat. There'll be times when I invite you to put in names or sometimes reflections, but please feel free to greet one another or express yourself in the midst of services. It's always wonderful to create that sense of community. It's really lovely and much appreciated when we're able to sing and pray together in this form, for us to be self-expressive so that we don't let the barriers keep us isolated, but that we can actually feel the sense of warmth and energy that we're creating together. And, you have a choice whether you want to, even when we spotlight videos, whether you want to keep them on speaker view, which you'll find in your upper right corner, or if you want to put it into gallery view. Either way, that's up to you. So we want to begin by lighting Shabbat candles. I want to invite Sharon to light our candles for us. Good Shabbat, Sharon. Good to see you. Let's gather in the light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlich ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
So friends, our Torah portion this Shabbat is Kitavo, and it enumerates the kinds of blessings that are possible when we live with a sense of alignment of our values. And conversely, it shares the curses in terms of what happens when we stray from those values. And so in many ways, it's a perfect Elul passage for us to think about how we want to realign ourselves in this coming year. We take a moment to welcome that sense of peacefulness that Shabbat can bring, and perhaps a greater sense of contemplation of what's most important to us in these times. Join us in singing Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hashalem, Malachi Elyon, Melech, Malachi Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bakuni v'shalom Malachi Hashalom Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Melech Malachi Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So we're going to move into our breakout rooms in a moment so that we can greet each other some good Shabbat wishes, and want to invite us to have a little bit of conversation with one another. So when we do that, it works most effectively if someone in each of the breakout rooms takes it upon themselves to help facilitate the conversation. First of all, just make sure everyone gets a chance to introduce themselves and say Shabbat Shalom. And then given the theme of our Torah portions, blessings and curses, I want to invite us to think about our week, and you have an opportunity if you want to share a blessing or you want to share a kvetch. Sometimes in order to get into Shabbat, we need to let something go, or sometimes we need to appreciate and offer the gratitude for what it was. So it's up to you. If you're sharing a blessing, you get 3 sentences. If you're sharing kvetch, you only get 2. So you have to distill that kvetch into fewer words. And that's only if you choose to listen to me or kvetch about these instructions. So I want to invite us to move into those breakout rooms, wish each other a good Shabbos, introduce yourselves to people you don't know, and then we'll join each other for some Elul and Shabbat Psalms.
Okay. Oh, look at Lisa. Alyssa. Hi. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. How's Florida?
Florida is okay. We're still in quarantine, but other than that, everything is fine. Yes. Good to see you, honey. Good to see everybody.
for my,
I was aiming for.
It's okay. We're using those.
Is this what you wanted to use?
Yeah, one of them. Just one of them. You don't have to use both of them.
somehow I got put into a different group than I was in before
I think
everybody.
you got bounced out.
I got bounced out of my previous group, so hello. Nice to see you all.
I got bounced out too, so.
Oh, okay.
I think we're all coming back together soon, I bet.
Oh, okay.
Shabbat shalom. You can keep fetching if you want.
I was saying something nice, but I got bounced out of the nice thing, so
Go figure.
yeah.
There's no.
Welcome back. I hope that was some good fetching and some good blessing sharing that you did. Elul is, the acronym for Elul is Ani Ledodi Vedodi Li. This beautiful phrase, I am my beloved and my beloved is mine, from Song of Songs. And just keep in mind that this hard work of Elul is best grounded in love rather than judgment. I would like to offer this really beautiful Anila DVD by Deborah Sachs-Mentz, who also has a tune on my playlist. I'm pitching the playlist that we have up online right now, but this is another one of her tunes. Ani ledodi vedodi li haroe b'shoshanim. Ani ledodi vedodi li haroe b'shoshanim. Achadi onati tamati achadi. Achadi onati tamati achadi. Haroe b'shoshanim. B'shoshanim haroe b'shoshanim b'shoshanim yani ledodi vedodi li haroe b'shoshanim. Ani ledodi vedodi li haroe b'shoshanim.
We move into some Psalms for Elul. And there is the teaching that during the time of Elul, majesty is in the field, that we think about the glorious presence of God's sovereignty, leaving the heights and walking amongst us. And there really is this kind of beautiful sense of wandering that can emerge out of Elul. But while that's happening, there's also this image of us sitting within the home or the place, the dwelling of God's presence. And so, in some ways, I believe that we're preparing that sanctuary for God to come and dwell during the High Holy Days, according to the mystics. And so there's a lot of emphasis about these dwellings that we're creating. And of course, as you know, and as we have put so much time and attention towards helping us prepare and continue to prepare to turn our actual homes into sanctuaries for the High Holy Days. Gan has prepared and put a text to chant for many of these so that we can actually inhabit the texts that talk about inviting this sense of dwelling. And so I want to introduce some of these chants to you tonight so they become familiar, as they will kind of guide us through the High Holy Days and really invite us to connect as we start slowly that transformation and begin to think about where in our home will we create this place of sacred connection.
But we're going to start with a beloved tune to Achat Sha'alti. You were already singing when I offered it as a nigun. So Achat Sha'alti, the Elul Psalm 27. Achat Sha'alti meit Adonai otav akesh. Achat Sha'alti meit Adonai otav akesh. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yemei chayai lachazot benoam ya uvacher bechalo lachazot benoam ya uvacher bechalo. And this song that Will is going to be bringing is from the last line of Psalm 27. May you be strengthened in your heart with courage and have hope in the Eternal One.
Al tidneni benefesh tzarai Kavel Adonai Lach amar libi bakshu fanai Kavel Adonai Al tidneni benefesh tzarai Kavel Adonai Lach amar libi bakshu fanai Kavel Adonai Chazak ve'ametz libecha Chazak ve'ametz libecha Chazak ve'ametz libecha Ve'kavel Adonai Chazak ve'ametz libecha Chazak ve'ametz libecha Chazak ve'ametz libecha Ve'kavel Adonai Ve'kavel Adonai.
We move into Psalm 98, one of our Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms.
Yiram hayam umelo Yiram hayam umelo Tevel ve'yoshveva Yiram hayam umelo Neharot Yimcha Uchaf Yailai Yailai Yachan Haverim Yiranenu Yailai Yailai Neharot Yimcha Uchaf Yailai Yailai Yachan Haverim Yiranenu Yiram Hayam Umelo Yiram Hayam Umelo Tevel ve'yoshveva Yiram Hayam Umelo.
Page 41. Let's welcome the Shabbos bride with Chadodi. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmianu elam yuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem u'tiferet ve'li tila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela itoreri, itoreri, ki ba'or kumi uri, 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 shir daberi, kevod Adonai alach nigla lecha, dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela yamin u'smol tifrotzi vet Adonai taritzi al yad ish bein partzi V'nismecha v'nagila lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela Boi b'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tchala toch emune am segula boi kala lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nekabela.
Please join me on page 55 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yikadach v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah B'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chach hayechon v'yomechon uv'chayetecho Beit Yisrael Ba'agala ba'agala uv'izmahan kahariv v'imiru amen Yeheshme Rabbo Mevorach Leolam Leome Amaya Yiparach Yiparach V'yishtabach V'pa'ar V'troma Naseh V'tadar V'tale V'tala Shmei Kudesha Brichu Liela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'meru amen. So we begin our Ma'ariv service with the Baruch Hu. It's our opportunity to bless the source of life and to bless one another. To share in our small groups the blessings that we experienced this past week. If anybody wants to share any of those blessings with all of us, I invite you to do so as we together in this chant. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya 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 la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai, ha'mevorach, ha'mevorach.
Baruch Adonai, Hamevorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai, ha'mevorach leolam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. We find Asher Bivaro. We'll read our traditional English interpretation. I believe you'll find it on page 60. You'll also find it in the chat. Please read with me as it comes up. Praised are you, God of the universe, who has ordained the rhythm of life. The day with its light calls to activity and exertion. But when the day wanes, when with the setting of the sun colors fade, we cease from our labors and we welcome the tranquility of the night, the subdued light of the moon and stars, the darkness and the stillness about us invite rest and repose. Trustfully, we yield to the quiet of sleep, for we know that while we are unaware of what goes on within and around us, our powers of body and mind are renewed. Therefore, at this evening hour, we seek composure of spirit. We give thanks for the day and its tasks and for the night and its rest. Praised are you, God, who brings on the evening.
Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom ve'laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, Elchai v'chayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo.
Haraviv.
Amen. We find Ahavat Olam on page 63. Please join me in praying this prayer. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limahadita. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochveinu v'kumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla v'avatcha lo tatzor mimenu li'olamim baruch atah Adonai baruch shmo ohev amo Israel. Amen.
We prepare for the Shema, page 65. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושינתם לבביך ודיברת בם בשבתך ביתך ובלתך בדרך ושוכבך ומקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וסחבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
מי כמוך,
מי כמוך,
באלים אדוני,
באלים אדוני,
כמוך,
מי כמוך,
נדע בקודש,
נדע בקודש,
נורא,
נורא,
הילות,
הילות,
עושה,
פלא,
מלכותך,
מלכותך,
ראו בניך,
ראו בניך,
בוקי הים,
בוקי הים,
לפני משה ומרים,
לפני משה ומרים,
זה לי,
לי,
אנו ואמרו,
אנו ואמרו,
אדוני ימלוך,
אדוני ימלוך,
לעולם ועד,
לעולם ועד.
ברוך,
ברוך,
אתה אדוני,
אתה אדוני,
God,
God,
Israel.
Israel.
We seek some comfort under the Sukkot Shlomecha, the canopy of the divine wholeness. Invite us to feel embraced by this melody and just take a moment and recognize if there are any places where you're experiencing some anxiety or some fear. Our ancestors wrote this prayer with the hope that by feeling connected to those around us and to the universe herself, that we might feel a certain sense of calm and peace, that we may even right size what our anxieties are in the magnitude of the sky and its stars. So we invite us to chant along with Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha.
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך והושיענו ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך והושיענו ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך והושיענו.
Is Rabbi Josh here?
I am.
Okay.
You want me to share some words? We're about to hear words from that we've been looking at as part of our preparation time. And I'm going to invite us to put them in the chat. Adonai Ma'on, there's this sense that our ancestors who, when the temple was destroyed and they found themselves wandering in another time in exile, they found themselves creating a new name for God, and that was Makom, this understanding that God can be place for us, that we don't have a sense of rootedness or we don't have our own dwelling, that we're on a journey of sorts, that we can inhabit God as a dwelling. And it was a really hopeful sense. And the text from the Psalms resonated with them, the understanding that from generation to generation, God has acted as safe harbor or really a shelter for us throughout these times. I really felt like as we moved to the High Holy Days, this was a text that spoke to us in this moment. It's not that we're on a journey. In fact, many of us would like to be journeying much more than we have been. But if the last thing that we want is for our homes to become a prison, then we want to invite the sense of wonder and awe into our home, that there can be the sacred in the mundane, that when there was no temple, every home became a mikdash me'at. Every home became its own small sanctuary. I invite us to listen to this and then move into some silence, both creating a sense of inviting that sacred into our spaces, into our own hearts and souls.
Adonai Ma'on Atah Hayita lanu bedor vador. Adonai Ma'on Atah Hayita lanu bedor vador. Yadadai, 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 yadadai. Adonai Maonata Hayita lanu bedor vador Adonai Maonata Hayita lanu bedor vador Yada yada Adonai, 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 yada 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 yada
So I want to invite us to move from our contemplative silence to a place of communal prayer for healing. I invite us to put in the chat the names of those that we pray refuah shlema, a healing of body, of mind, and spirit. I invite you to put their names in as I read the names from our community. Richard Adler, Hillary Bauer, Loretta Bernstein, Bob Bloomfield, Murray Chass, Judy Cohen, Richard Cohen, Estelle Green, Sylvia Gross, Ronit Elk, Jerry Falcon, Larry Huntsberry, Matthew Kantrowitz, Mark Copen, Arnie Corfine, Michael Lappin, Elaine Levin, Bob Levy, Robin Levy, Ann Lewis, Paulette LaCourciere, Tommy Macon, Melissa Macha, Esther Myers, Sharon Miller, Sarah Newmark, Aylin Olson, Jory Perling, Michael Perling, Ethan Post, Mario Ravri Sr., Alan Rosen. We include Gary Rosenthal, Judy Roth, Harris Rotman, Cheryl Siegel, Clifford Greenfield, David Singer, Elliot Stryker, Maria Talenti, Eve Turner, Dolly Wax, Shirley Weiss, Aleem, Tootie White, Phil Whiting, John Witherspoon, Iris Bowles, Tom Reich, Deborah Krotenberg, Frank Noon, Patricia Noon Richardson, Jamie Robertson, Yanko Batsara, Matteo Battistini, George Hotelling, Alton Reynolds, Allison Robin, Norma Harris, Kate Hamill, Janine Grasso Smith, Kim McCalla, Julio Quintana, Ellie Emmerich, and Nancy Smith.
Avotenu Kor HaChaim Leimotenu את החולים, את החולים, אל נא רפא לה, 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 מי שברא אבותינו מקור החיים לאמותינו, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים, את החולים, אל נא רפא לה, אל נא רפא לה, אל נא רפא לו, אל נא רפא לו, אל נא רפא לה, אל נא רפא לו, אל נא רפא לנו, אל נא רפא
May those we named have a refuah shlema, a complete healing of body, of mind, and spirit. So I have a few words of Torah for us. Let's start with a story. There once was a woman named Rachel who lived a pious life, and to reward her, Elijah the prophet came to visit her in the middle of synagogue in front of all of her family and friends. And Elijah said, "Because of the kindness that you have extended to people in need, I will grant you whichever blessing you choose. You can either have great wisdom, much beauty, or 10 million shekels." Rachel didn't hesitate. She said, "I choose great wisdom." And lightning struck, and she was aglow like Moses carrying down the 10 Commandments. Surely she was transformed. And like that, Elijah had disappeared. But she stood in a circle of her family and friends, looking forlorn. One of her friends whispered and turned to her, "Say something. Surely you have some wisdom to depart on us, because such great wisdom has bestowed upon you." And Rachel looked at each and every one of them with a bit of sadness in her eyes, and she said, "Now I know I should have taken the money." That was a joke. Jokes on Zoom don't, thank you. Thank you, Darcy. I'm looking at you. This joke I offered is really to talk about how sometimes blessings can be curses. And there are ways where curses, in the midst of them, we can find blessings. I'm not one that is keen on binaries. Sometimes we get trapped. And so the way that this Torah portion really slices things down the middle creates a trap for us in really thinking that there is only blessing or only curse, rather than perhaps a path where we say, as our tradition offers, Gam ze latova, this too is for the good, or even just Gam ze lavor, this too will pass, whether it is blessing or curse. In this week's Torah portion, as I've mentioned, kitavo, there are all the blessings of the abundance and the prosperity that people will receive by faithfully fulfilling the covenant. We're also reminded by a litany of curses of great and shocking magnitude for those who fail to obey and keep the covenant. The section of the curses is referred to as the Rebuke, and it should be read more as a cautionary tale of what could happen when we don't live a life aligned rather than a promise of what will. Not only are they complicated, not only are blessings and curses complicated because of the binaries that they're in, but it creates a challenging theology. Often we think that people are rewarded, as this Torah portion talks about. And so when there's good things that happen in our lives, we think that they're good people. And that when bad things happen, we sometimes assume that they are bad people when we follow this kind of theology. And the truth is that that's very messy, and we know that not to be true, that there are a lot of terrible things that have happened to good people, and that there are people who have received tremendous reward who we might deem as unworthy. And so often, blessing and curse is also in the eye of the beholder. I resonate with a teaching that my colleague, Rabbi Neil Lovinger, offers, who reflects that to understand suffering as punishment for sin leads to the idea that undeserved suffering must be because of undisclosed sin. And that can add layers of guilt and shame onto things like illness or accidents or other tragedies. Thus, we should rather not read this section in the Torah of curses for its theology of punishment. Rather, however, we can read it as a statement of values. By positing dire consequences for certain actions, the Torah is teaching us, pay close attention. This is the part you should be taking very seriously. And if you look at some of the curses, I think we would agree when it talks about taking advantage of those who are blind or disabled, or making things difficult for people who are in challenging circumstances like widows or orphans. We would agree that taking advantage of these things taking advantage of people lead to actions that we would find reprehensible. But one of the most important lines of this Torah portion that is embedded in the curses says, because you did not serve Adonai your God joyfully and gladly in the time of prosperity. My colleague, Rabbi Neil Lovinger, introduced to me the insight of Rabbi Simcha Bunim, a Polish Hasidic great from the 19th century. And Reb Simcha Bunim explains in his commentary that the Torah does not specify the sins for which the Jewish people will be punished. The only one that it mentions specifically is because you did not serve Adonai your God joyfully. For me, this is a bit of an understanding in a biblical sense of Viktor Frankl's premise of tragic optimism. Viktor Frankl expressed his ability to survive some of life's greatest trials by his ability to hold two opposing truths. One, life is inescapably bound with the pain and loss and genuine faith that despite that pain and loss, one can persevere with joy, even in the face of the severity of one's challenges. The point I believe that Reb Simcha is making is that how we choose to serve and enact our spiritual practices is crucial, regardless of whether we find ourselves in blessing or curse. The failing that the Torah is pointing out is when we allow our hardships to become so overwhelming that we close off any possibility to the experience of having joy. And that is where we have the possibility of sweetening the experience of serving what is sacred in our lives where we can. And even perhaps we're being commanded to derive joy where we can. I believe that this is such an important teaching, especially now, that this is how we want to enter the new year. Of course, there is no shame in feeling and expressing the overwhelm, the frustration, the pain, and the sadness we feel, but not at the expense of eclipsing any possibility of joy. When I think about it, regardless of the heaviness of my week, This week, I've been actively planning the funeral of a friend who died way too young, sat with the tragedy of some of our fellow community members, worried about the rise of authoritarianism, had grief over the shooting of Jacob Blake and the complexities that continue to grow over that situation and the racial injustice in our country, anger over the misinformation about the coronavirus coming from our administration in Washington, and the weight of my own family, of the distance that we have, who are struggling in their own ways. So when I think about my own weightiness, I also remember that this week I listened to many of the High Holy Day playlists that our members created. I laughed with Gayan as we continued to plan out High Holy Day services. We, Will and I, began to work on what is going to be a brilliant video soon to be released from the chorus. I delighted in the company of our morning meditations. I had 3 members speak to me about the anchor that the evening minyan has become, and especially the joy of being here tonight. I can only affirm that there has not been a single Shabbat service since the beginning of the pandemic where I haven't felt more joy by gathering together. And I believe that when we do this, we are serving the sacred with joy, even though we are experiencing hard and trying weeks. We get to be here. We are creating something meaningful, even despite our collective hardships. I wrote this week in an article about some of the joy I've experienced by leading a creative, generative Facebook group of 2,600 clergy planning for the High Holy Days in the midst of the pandemic, and recognizing that precisely it is when our survival is at stake and that when our mettle is tested, that the kind of generosity that I see from Jewish professionals that I have never seen in my 21 years, it is out of this hardship that this possibility expands, and that joy, creativity, and unity are indeed possible on scales that tear down turf and eliminate some powerful hierarchies. So indeed, for me, this idea of finding blessing in the midst of curse is really potent and powerful. I certainly feel that that is what's happening here in our community, that together we are serving the sacred with joy. And in doing so, I hope we can uplift the possibility of the blessing of abundance for our new year. And for the record, if I get a choice of blessing in this new year, I don't take the wisdom, I don't take the beauty, nor the money. I will, however, take more of the joy. I look forward to sharing that joy with you in this coming year. Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to invite Marcy Alt to give some announcements on behalf of our board. Thank you, Marcy.
All right, good evening, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome. We are so glad to host so many friends from around Atlanta and around the country for our virtual services. Our regular daily and weekly gatherings continue in the coming weeks. Mindful Moments is at 8:45 a.m. on weekdays, where we'll explore spiritual themes that move us from estrangement and grief to responsibility and repair, and start to repair to forgiveness and self-acceptance. Please join us. You can also finish your day with a 10-minute minyan at 7:45 p.m. The CBH board will begin meeting on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month at 5:30. The next meeting will be September the 8th. Please join us next week for Friday night services with Rabbi Josh and Will Robertson at 6:45. On Saturday, September 12th, there will also be a 10 a.m. Torah study with Rabbi Gottfried. On Friday, September 11th at noon, please join Rabbi Pamela Gottfried in the ritual observance of taking challah and prayers for healing for all those burdened with physical and emotional pain on this anniversary. We also take a moment to remember those who lost their lives on 9/11 and in the aftermath of the attacks, those who also have lost their lives during COVID-19. We have many amazing Elul offerings. Lunch and Learns with Rabbi Gottfried, pre-Rosh Hashanah Game Olympics with children in kindergarten through 5th grade, a workshop on making a sanctuary of your home with Rabbi Elise Wechterman, a challah braiding and baking workshop. Oh, wow, I want to do that one. And a Rosh Hashanah cider with Rabbi Malka Packer Monroe, all leading up to our slate of high holiday services and programs. Please visit our website calendar for more details to sign up for these and any other programs. As always, a full view of our Elul offerings. Please visit the CBH calendar on our website. We are constantly posting new events and services, so check off it and stay up to date. We now have a whole section of the website dedicated just to the COVID resources and response. This is where you can find links to all the public CBH Zoom gatherings, as well as links to practical and financial resources and spiritual and mental health resources. Go to the CBH website for that. And it's Congregation Bet Haverim, and you will see it in the main navigation across the top that says COVID Central. Finally, if you are able, please consider making a donation to CBH to support these offerings. We know that many people are facing a shifting financial landscape, and as some of our members need to step back from doing donations, we really ask other members to please step up and considering making one. That's all I got for you, Rabbi.
I appreciate it, Marcy. And once again, I just want to appreciate our board and our staff are working really hard and diligently, but also an amazing number of volunteers from our community are coming together to help make High Holy Days really incredibly special. And so thank you to all of the volunteers who have stepping up and taking part. A lot of that will be happening this weekend. You should be expecting or receiving a surprise from the congregation. Maybe it's not a surprise. Maybe you've heard us talk about it, but there are going to be so many good things that you're not going to know what to do with them, but I'm excited for you to receive them. To help us have the most successful High Holy Days possible, and I think to increase your sense of enjoyment and being aware, I want to encourage you, if you are on Facebook and you use Facebook, to like our page so that you can get updates there. There are videos that we are posting. The video that I mentioned that Will has been working on that I think is brilliant will be up, and that's going to be one of the main ways that you'll be able to experience it. And for those of you not on Facebook, our YouTube channel is growing by the day. We love that people are following us on YouTube, and more of our music is being reset and posted up there. I'm creating videos that are going up there that have little Elul teachings. So please, if you are on YouTube, or anybody can be on YouTube, if you subscribe to our page, it will be very helpful. Be an influencer and amplifier, amplify our messages, share our posts. Part of the beauty of our High Holy Days is that while many of fellow communities have tickets and have paywalls, understandably, because this is not an inexpensive endeavor for communities to do, we really have a philosophy of making sure that everyone has a place to go. So please let your family and your friends and anybody that you encounter that may need a home for the Holy Days, that they are welcome, and invite that sense of warmth and hospitality so that we can fulfill our mission and continue to grow in spirit as a community. I appreciate your participation in those ways. We near the conclusion of our service, we find the Aleinu, this possibility of a world with tikkun, a world with healing. I invite us to turn to page 121 as Gan leads us in the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה לארצי בראשית, שנתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Ein od, Einod, Einod. Kakatu b'tortecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'neimar v'hai Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Please join me in the prayer for the end of hiding. Take this moment to recognize the power of being able to claim our true, authentic selves. And as I spoke about the mission that we want to create and share with the world, it really is that people can both be their authentic, true selves and find a Jewish home that values that authenticity. So please join me in saying the prayer for the end of hiding. As LGBTQ Jews, we are aware of the loss of integrity we suffer due to pressures of the larger society. We often feel forced into a dishonest presentation of ourselves, to ourselves and others. The LGBTQ individuals who feel they must pretend to be something that they are not, the Jews who feel they must be alienated from their tradition and community, to in larger acceptance, both are victims of a theft of identity and integrity committed by the sexual, gender identifying or religious majority. Creator of the universe, we ask that our hiding draw to an end, that we no longer feel we have to pretend, to promise falsely, to renounce ourselves, and that our fullest creative expression as Jews and as lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer people be among the blessings you bestow upon us. Amen. We find Mourner's Kaddish on page 131. Again, I invite you to put names of those that you are remembering in the chat. You may also unmute yourselves if you want to say the names out loud, and then we'll join together in the prayer on page 131. To Peter Steiner.
Rose Gold.
Eric Reckelman.
Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. Yikadal, v'yikadal, rabba.
Be'elmat yivrach terotei ve'emlech malchotei. B'chayton v'chon v'chayid v'chol Israel. Magala u'vizman karif v'imru amen.
Yehei
Shmei rabba mivrach le'olam amen.
Yiparach,
Yishtabach v'yitar v'yitamach
v'yitamach,
v'yitchadar v'yitchalei v'yitchalam mei b'kudashta b'reichu. Le'olam yimkol birchata v'shata. Tushbichata v'nechemata. Damir andelma v'yamaru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba nishtamaya. V'chaim aleinu v'kol Israel. Amen. O say shalom b'mramav. Huya say shalom. Aleinu v'kol Israel. V'kol Israel v'imru. Amen.
Amen. May their memories be for a blessing. We conclude our Shabbat service this evening with Oseh Shalom. May the one who creates peace in the heights create peace for all of us, for all of Israel and the entire world. I hope that you take from this time together a little bit of peace into your homes. May you have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. May we honor the spirit of everybody who has worked hard for that sense of labor rights that we continue to seek in our country. And may we have a little bit of respite this weekend as well. Take good care, and let's sing and dance our way out.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ואמרו, אמרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו, אמרו, אמן. היי, לה 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 לה. La 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 la, la 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 la, 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 la 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 la. Oh, say shalom bimroma, oh yeah, say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru. Hey, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, 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 la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Shabbat shalom.
Good Shabbos, everybody. Take good care.
Good Shabbos.
Good
Shabbat
Shabbos.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom, y'all.
Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat
everyone.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Lori.
Black and white cat too, the same kind of cat.
Shabbat shalom from our cat.
There we see. Gabby.
They're not on.
Take care, Darcy.
Shabbat.
It's very sweet.
Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Rabbi.
We might be able to consider a pet blessing on Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take one.
Rudy could come to one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
Hey,
Thank
Josh, if I
you.
could time stand for another bar
Much love, everybody.
Meow mitzvah.
Shabbat shalom.
Yeah, thanks, Kayanne. Thanks, Haley, for making.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you, Will, Gayanne, and Rabbi. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Good Shabbos.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, Regulus.
Hey, hey
How are
guys.
you guys doing? We
Good to
haven't
see you.
Oh, Susan, did you get your results from your wrist MRI?
I have to wear this for a while, for a month.
Was it broken?
Oh, but they gave me a cortisone shot.
Oh, good. Okay,
That's
that's
just
good.
it's just inflamed. Yeah.
It's not
They
broken,
think it.
right?
They think it's something to do with the